test that sound again, or do you have that thing licked? And it works? Boom! And then, oh, you have a remote presenter thing? It's plugged in. It's good to go. On. Right side, left side. Does this thing turn, or is it just in this position? I don't want to screw up your cables, but... My guess, I don't like the podium.
You're walking.
Exactly.
So you want to see...
I want to... Exactly.
I got you.
How could you... Never mind. I got it. I figured it out.
One of these games...
Oh, that's perfect. You know that when we were setting up room 201 for the Aurora Theater trial, we said, we'll pay for this giant 80-inch mark. So they did that, and the final walkthrough, I told the clerk, the lady that was putting it together, I said, I want the TV right above the juror's head. And she said, I don't think you need it. I'm still talking. Can they hear me from that? Yeah, it's turned on. Allison said she could get it. She got it. And then so some more came out, and he said, I get it. Let's do it. I'm like, it makes all the difference in the world, so you don't get caught in the bug zapper back there. Oh, man, you're right. You are right. If you need an email from someone to...
Say one of these, hey, Tyler, it'd be nice if you did this.
Yeah, please, please. I'm gonna stand random places. I might walk around and touch people.
Right.
I'll probably be right here doing this conversation like this. You know, you guys can have these donuts. That's what I've been told. You guys can have every single one of them. I meant for the dog. Yeah. Oh, he does not need them. Right here. Can you hear me on that? Was it clear enough? I got the mask on too. I can move it up. I could put it on my tie. Okay. Okay. Without this on? Does it sound okay? I could move it to the tie if that's a difference maker.
Yeah.
What do you think? All right. Like that? Is that better? Not good enough? Is there something I need? I'm very soft-spoken, as you know. Time for someone to take their pill. Hey, Sheriff, what's going on, man? Can we do a COVID safe hug here? How are you? Thanks for coming down. You're looking like $1 million. Are you on the juice?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good.
Are you coming down afterwards?
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you personally for
Yeah, thank you. This is great. It's great. Vicky wanted to tell the entire world we were going to be. No, she didn't. She was like, "Don't say it." I'm like, "I won't tell them." You crazy? Thank you. Yeah.
What are you doing?
That's okay. I'm saying a lot of things. Oh. I just want to say that the media that I see here are some of the most attractive, intelligent people I've ever come across.
As we said, I do have a document that I will try to email after the news conference. It is 1 meg. If it doesn't get through, I'm waiting on Dropbox so that you all will have access to it. Last I checked, we are able to stream on our Facebook page, and we will try to save the video there after the fact as well. But feel free to ask District Attorney Brauchler any questions you want now, because we're not planning on doing interviews after this. Any ground rule questions, or anybody have technology issues? Are we good to go, everybody? Good? All right, thank you so much. George?
Thank you. I'm going to take off this damn mask to do this thing. Does it sound okay? Good morning. Thanks for coming here. My name is George Brauchler. The last name is Brauchler. I'm the district attorney for the 18th Judicial District. That encompasses Arapahoe, Douglas, Elbert, and Lincoln counties. I have about 88% of Aurora in my jurisdiction by population, and that includes the area that we're going to talk about here today. Back on July the 25th of this year, there was a protest that took place outside of the Aurora Municipal Center. Subsequent to that protest, those protesters spilled out onto northbound and southbound I-225. There was an incident, a couple different incidents. One involving the actions of a Jeep driver as it approached and ultimately drove through the area that had been occupied by protesters. That's what we're here to discuss today. As you know, there was another case that we had previously filed against someone we have accused of attempted murder of the Jeep owner and driver and the passenger for shooting. I'll make passing reference to that in a discussion of the investigation of this, but I don't intend to talk any more about that case other than to say, despite our allegations, that guy remains presumed innocent until and unless he's proven guilty in a court of law. So I want to tell you about the investigation and how we got here as we talk about sort of the status where we're at today. This is in many ways an update as to what we've come across, and at the end of this, and maybe during it, I'm going to make a plea to you that if you know of anybody that has access to other evidence in this case, and my hope is it's video, or I'll even take pictures, or sound, or something, I still am open to considering all of that in this investigation. But here's what we've got so far. We have a ton of video, and that's been good, and you'll see where the holes in this investigation to some extent exist because of a lack of video, but the source of that video comes from a bunch of different places. Aurora Police Department, they had certain cameras available for certain parts of the traffic and the streets. You'll also see where they had some gaps that they didn't have, like a halo, or Tom, what's the name of that other product they have? Milestone cameras. 9 News, they had a helicopter up there. I know many of you didn't fly your company's helicopters up there, or the Aurora Sentinel, I understand it was grounded. But 9 News was up there, and they had a lot of footage that we were able to get off of their website in order to help us put together some of the actions of this. We also had drone footage operated by sort of just these amateur drone people that were going around covering the protest. We had a ton of cell phone video that we were able to get, but interestingly, not so much from people that were on the ground directly, but through online things, whether it's social media, websites, or whatever. We were able to get a lot of video and piece it together, and you'll see some of that here today. And then, of course, there were body-worn cameras by Aurora Police Department, who's had them in the field now for a long, long, long time, even well before SB 217, and you'll see that there's some contact that they had with witnesses that we relied upon. There were also interviews of witnesses, some of which took place on body-worn cameras, some of which took the form of written statements that ultimately resulted in in-person, unrecorded interviews, some recorded. I think Crime Stoppers played a huge role in this, and let me give another shout out to Crime Stoppers. You know, my sense of where we are today in the community is that there may be people who may be in possession of some additional evidence that we haven't been able to consider, and I want to be able to consider it. But maybe they think to themselves, well, I don't know that I trust to give it to Aurora. Maybe I don't even know if I can trust to give it to the DA's office. You can anonymously give it to Crime Stoppers. They'll get it to us for us to consider. We've interviewed more than 30 different witnesses, just 8 from the actual protest, I'd say in the last few weeks that we did this. We also had a technical vehicle analysis done that required us to get a search warrant that we executed on there are 2 vehicles involved here. One will be this blue Jeep. Another will be a white Ford F-150 that you'll see. And we got a search warrant to get from those vehicles their EDR, their electronic data recordings that help us understand what the vehicle was doing just prior to and during the impact that these 2 vehicles had with each other. We also had Faro scans done. They're, in my opinion, moderately helpful, but it's super high-end technology. Big data use too. that tries to analyze the vehicles and where they impacted based on all of the evidence that they have. It's somewhat helpful. It doesn't get us to where we need to be on this yet, but we'll talk about that more. So that's what we had to go off of, and we put it together. That was a painstaking process, and I want to tell you, I didn't want to rush to judgment on this. I still haven't rushed to judgment on this. I think this case is too important to the community, and it doesn't matter which side of the protest you come down on, this is important, and I don't want to get it wrong. And so we spent a lot of time trying to uncover every bit of information we could, including, I know that Chief Wilson from Aurora PD, I know that I and the office on the radio, in print, in social media have asked people, if you have additional evidence or video, please give it to us to consider in analyzing this particular case. So on July 25th, there was this pre-planned protest there at the Aurora Municipal Center. These are images from that. We then see that the crowd moves from the Aurora Municipal Center westbound, and this is the direction of travel that they have as they're going to that on-ramp from Arapahoe to northbound I-225. This is some of that imagery as they're heading that direction. There's going to be some video that we play. One of the videos that I think we're just about to see is sort of gives you a perspective of not just the number of people involved, the movement, but also to some extent the chaotic-like environment that was being created by the fact that this portion of it was not pre-planned. There is a permitting process in Aurora to say we want to use a certain stretch of road for a race, for a march, for a rally, a something. None of that happened here that we have any evidence of. And in this next video clip, I hope it plays. I'm not jinxing it. I'm just saying I hope it plays. You will see that there are cars that are just confused as to what to do as these protesters and some of these sort of ad hoc managers of the protest try to give directions of what people should do. Stop here, do this, do that. And that kind of continues through all of this. So this is that first clip.
There's not enough left side traffic control. Stop. Stop. Put your car in park. Put your car in park. Please. Put your car in park. I need a couple people on the front line to ask people to put their car in park ahead of the line. There should also be a line right here holding security.
So you can see that the crowd has spilled over into both east and westbound Alameda at this point as they head westbound towards I-225. So they make their way there. You can see super awesome PowerPoint animations that I spent way too much time on, but to give you the direction of travel onto I-225. And now you can see that they're spilling over. This is Alameda, westbound. This is coming onto that on-ramp for northbound I-225. And I think we have another clip here. Minutes later, both lanes of travel, it's not limited to just northbound I-225, but southbound I-225 is also overrun by protesters. And you can see an image here of what's going on. This is northbound over here on the left. This upper one is southbound. And you can see they have caught unawares a ton of cars that were surrounded by people giving varying instructions. And I have to tell you that the reports that we got from individuals ran the gamut. There were some pretty tense conversations, if I can call them conversations, that took place between the protesters and these vehicles just going about their business. I think it's also important to note at this time, the only people on that highway legally are the people in those vehicles right there. This red truck was one that we got some imagery of, and we were able to get a statement from the driver of the truck. This was the confrontation that took place. This is how it was going down, leading up to when the Jeep finally comes on. He says, "My wife was absolutely distraught. She cried for hours afterwards. The young daughter in the car, 'Daddy, I'm scared.' Things like that were going on all over 225. Here's another clip. Well, I guess that wasn't a clip. Hang on. Let me see if I... Nope. As the crowd walked on to northbound I-225, a police motorcycle, Aurora Police Department motorcycle, positioned itself south of the on-ramp from westbound Alameda onto 225. And that ultimately blocked traffic. In fact, no, that's not a good image of it. That's the police officer right here. Alameda is way up here. So it stopped traffic before the on-ramp, but it did not stop traffic onto the on-ramp. This then becomes more of southbound 225 over here. There's a police officer you can see surrounded by the yellow up there trying to stop traffic from coming onto 225 southbound. Coming off onto Alameda from 225 right there. And you can see he's positioned to block that off. As the crowd took over both directions and walked northbound I-225, patrol cars blocked traffic southbound. This is way far ahead north as they're trying to block traffic headed towards where these people are, way down there off the camera. Eastbound Alameda, northbound intersection was blocked by a female protester on a motorbike. This is the on-ramp from westbound Alameda to northbound I-225. Now keep in mind, this isn't a police officer, this isn't a marked patrol car, there are none at this intersection. This was just some person supportive of the protest who tried to physically put her bike and her between traffic and getting onto that on-ramp. Several other motorists on the on-ramp appeared confused and scared. Lots of pictures and statements to that effect. What you're seeing here at 6:54 p.m. is the Jeep appears to merge on the on-ramp. See this yellow arrow here? This is where the Jeep is crossing. This is Alameda going westbound, looking westbound. There's the Jeep here, and here's the Jeep right here, as it looks like it's going to head on to that on-ramp. It must be coming off of Abilene to get on to northbound I-225. And then there it is right there. There's no police blockade at this intersection, and that is important. There is no police blockade at this intersection. Here's where we have a hole. There are no milestone cameras, halos, pole cams of any kind in this area that we know about that would tell us what took place between that Jeep driver and the motorcycle, the motorbike person, or anybody else on the on-ramp to 225. We have to rely upon statements that were made. We don't have any video of that. There's also no video of the distance from the ramp to where there's a collision between an F-150 I'll talk about in a moment and this blue Jeep. We don't have video of that. We have a couple aerial shots from a drone, still shots, and I'll talk to you about those. But we just don't know what the movements were that took place and whatever confrontations may have happened. Here's some of the drone pictures. The best image of the interstate and crowd before the Jeep arrived is this one right here. You can see this is about the crowd here, and all the people that I'm going to be talking about are in this picture. So I don't know why it flashed twice. Area where the crowd was standing is not visible from the on-ramp. Let me go back to this real quick, and you'll see this. This group of people that are mostly dressed in yellow is kind of that, I think it's that wall of moms. There's the lights on in the back there are part of a vehicle that I believe is the Jeep, and then or Tom, is it this one that's the Jeep in this picture, or is it over here? Let me get the little voodoo thing going there. This one right here? Okay. We do have a better picture than that in my opinion, but area where the crowd was standing is not visible from the on-ramp. So one of the things that we did was to try to figure out, once this guy gets on the on-ramp, once he has this moment where this random motorbike person tries to block him from driving onto the on-ramp and he drives around her, we'll talk about that. When is his first bestest opportunity to figure out, hey buddy, you are driving up on a group of people on the street? And so we sent a traffic investigator with a dash cam down this same stretch of road at approximately the same speed to try to determine when could you see what was coming ahead of you as you pressed on. It isn't good. Not visible from the on-ramp, and one of the things you can't tell from the video and the drone shots that we have is there is a gradual elevation to 225. At a certain point, it begins to dip back down, but for a time between the turn in the road and the elevation, you just can't see that far down the road. And so here's the I think we have this here. Road has a slight incline until you get to the I'm not trying to trigger anyone. I don't know why it's flashing like that. The area where the large crowd was standing, not visible until just south of the 2nd Avenue overpass and looking to the right. Here's the video. This is on the on-ramp northbound 225. Couldn't see the crowd from here. You can see you can't see over the road, and because of the turn, you can't see around the road.
46 Henry. 46 Henry, go ahead.
Is it this sign, Tom? You'll see this sign in future pictures, but this about right here, we have represented in another photo I'll show you. So that's that sign right up there by the yellow arrow, okay? So that's the Jeep with its lights on in that lane. The motorbike that had been trying to block the on-ramp to 225 ends up giving chase to the Jeep after the Jeep drives around her and gets onto the highway. That's the motorbike back there. And then there's an F-150 truck that's going to play a pretty important role here. That's the truck right there. So you can see where all those people are, and then you see this one line broken off from the rest of these people here. So this is what, because we don't have video of what happens. Let me back up a little bit here. You can see there are some people in the road here. I don't know what they're doing in terms of movements, whether they're getting off the road, whether they're being aggressive to the vehicle. I don't know that. All we have are the statements of the witnesses, and the witnesses that we have, one is a passenger from the Jeep. And I want to make this clear. In no way has that person come forward to be interviewed by us. This was based off of that Facebook something video that they put on, their personal statement, whatever. But this is the quote. "We then avoided any pedestrians in the roadway and continued onto the freeway." That's coming off of that on-ramp. "There was no police barricade that stopped us. Upon getting onto the on-ramp, we did notice there was Black Lives Matter protesters on both sides of the on-ramp. Once we did get on the freeway, off the on-ramp, we did notice that there was additional protesters that were also on the roadway, but on both sides of it." So this is where we're at. We had a distance measured for these. I think it's more of an approximation because I don't think we had the ability to be precise, but we're close. So the Jeep in that photo is about 280 feet south of the F-150. The Jeep is about 440 feet south of that first line of, I guess we can call them the Wall of Moms. I don't know if that's accurate or not. The F-150 is about 160 feet south of the protesters. That'll be important later when we talk about things like ability to stop and what woulda, coulda happened there. The Jeep passenger goes on to say these protesters then immediately started throwing projectiles at the Jeep that they were in, as well as trying to get in front of the vehicle with bats to damage the vehicle. "We then avoided any pedestrian that tried to get in front of the Jeep, in which case a white pickup truck then began driving right next to us. The white pickup truck then intentionally crashed into us. Once this white pickup truck did crash into us, a man with a bat then approached the vehicle and began swinging at the vehicle. We then proceeded to speed off to avoid any potential damage to ourselves and the vehicle." Again, that's that Facebook posty message he had. That's not from an interview he gave us. He's denied giving us an interview. That's his right to do it, but I'm telling you, we asked. This is what we're going to talk about at this point here. I don't have video of any of these things happening to say that they didn't happen. What I also don't have is video of the collision. We have video of the sound of the collision and everything after, and I'll show you that. So this is the direction of travel that we're pretty confident he must have taken. This white truck was sitting here. Now, this white truck is a guy who originally is confronted when he's trying to get on northbound I-225, and the protesters, rush him, and he says, "Well, hang on. I'm supportive of the protest." Maybe he has friends in the protest. I can't remember, Tom. But he says, "I'm here to try to help." So his role, as he's in this lane right here, is to act as security for the protest. So the Jeep then drives around, doesn't hit any of these people, drives around through them to get by. After, according to the passenger, people were attacking their vehicle as they drove by. Then this truck, you'll see, makes a different kind of movement. We have no video of that. Based on the EDR data that is in the F-150 and that is in the Jeep, we know certain things took place. We also have photographs and a Faro scanner. Speed limit on this stretch of road is 65 miles per hour. 5 seconds prior to the collision between the F-150 and the Jeep, the F-150 was going a mere 6 miles per hour, right? And they talk about the slope and the downhill and all this other stuff. That's important. 5 seconds prior to the collision, the Jeep was going 20 miles an hour under the speed limit, 45 miles per hour. And it appears to be coasting, not accelerating at that point. Immediately prior to the collision, at 0.5 seconds, the F-150 begins to depress the accelerator. It's at 100%, can't go more than 100%. And the steering is increased to 15.5 degrees. Hard crank to the right. At time zero, the steering's been turned 426.3 degrees to the right, and the accelerator's at 100%. The speed is now increased to 8.2 miles per hour. Same period of time we're talking about. The Jeep has accelerated to a high of 47 miles an hour up to about 1.2 seconds prior and stays at that speed for about 0.6 seconds. At 0.6 seconds, it drops off. At 0.7 seconds, the brakes are pressed hard enough that the ABS locks up on it. At impact with this truck that drives into the Jeep, and I want to make that clear, there had been initial media reports that this Jeep had smashed into this truck. That is not how it went down. This truck, by the driver's words and conduct, deliberately drove his truck into that Jeep. 40 miles per hour is as fast as the Jeep was going at the time of impact. Now, what we're going to see here is the closest thing we have to a video that can tell us what took place at the time of the collision, and it's only sound. You'll hear that the collision happens, and then you'll start to see the reaction from people. That's the closest thing we have to video of that collision. We don't have anything from 9 News. We don't have anything from a drone. We don't have anything from cell phones other than this clip right here. The collision was 3,000 feet from Alameda, where this Jeep had gotten onto the on-ramp. It would have taken, and this is important because we talked about the speeds that they were traveling, it would have taken about 105 feet to brake and stop at 47 miles per hour. That's important because the collision, he's more than 150 feet away from the line of protesters. After the collision, this is that truck. We saw that on the ground video of that. This is the truck. This is the Jeep as they begin to move forward northbound onto this. And you can see now people are starting to move out of the way. We have another video, and this is, I think this is the one on the opposite side of the street that you can see the Jeep drive through it here. Let's see. Well, I guess only if George knows how to do the technology. Watch over here on the left. So they actually end up and surrounding the truck and treat the truck like it's part of this thing too. They don't know the role that this guy is playing. So they rushed the truck. They wanted to rush the Jeep, but the Jeep kept going. They rushed the truck, and the truck driver can be seen saying, whoa, 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 no, I'm one of y'all. I'm here to help try to protect this thing. And then they get off of the truck. Crowd begins to clear a path, and I'll show you some stills, and then we'll show the video of how it happened. But you can see here they start to get off of the road, and that there's almost nobody on northbound 225 as the Jeep starts to drive through where the crowd had been. But you will see, and you can sort of tell in the stills, there are people who rush into the street to try to throw things at the Jeep. And the Jeep navigates either around them or just keeps going. This is, and I told you I'd make passing reference, and I want to remind people that even though we have accused this guy of certain crimes, he is presumed innocent and will remain that way until he's convicted, and unless he's convicted in a court of law. But this is our alleged shooter right here. There's the Jeep. You'll see some of these people. These aren't people that are just standing there helpless. These are people who rushed to the Jeep to confront it. More views of the different lanes of traffic that are being covered. Here's that video. And watch over here on the left. That's after the sound of the collision. The Jeep is ultimately going to get off on 6th Avenue and make contact with the very first police officers it can encounter. And mercifully for these guys, it's right off of that off-ramp. It's right there. This is again our alleged shooter firing at the Jeep after it had passed. Here's another view. I'm trying to give you what video we had to try to piece this thing together.
I told you! I told you! Get the license plate! That's what the Aurora Police Department did! That's what they did!
That voice, you'll recognize that voice from one of the earlier videos on the westbound Alameda part as he's giving directions to cars. This guy has a lot of video and a lot of running narrative. And one clip I didn't put in here is early on, as they are coming onto northbound I-225, he can be heard walking behind, looking and seeing that there isn't any protection behind them from vehicles getting onto the highway. And he says, this isn't good. This isn't good. We need, I can't remember the words he used, but some kind of line or something like that. We need protection. This isn't good. And that's what he's making reference to here. When that car comes through, it's almost like, I told you so. I told you that this was an issue. So we had some accident analysis done. You've seen some of it already. An estimate was made based on the distance of the road markings and the vehicle travel over a period of time, and we came up with these. The first 40 feet that we see as the Jeep starts to go into this, it's traveling at about 29 miles per hour. This is all post-collision. And you can see the pictures here. As you know from the video, these are all people who came out to confront the Jeep. That second 40 feet, it's now increased its speed to about 40 miles per hour. And in that final 40 feet, as it has cleared by the folks, it gets up to about 51 miles per hour. Through the entire distance, and you saw the video of it, this Jeep really stays in the center lanes of the highway here. I want to tell you why that's important. In trying to assess what the mindset, and this matters when we talk about potential charges, the mindset of the driver, seeing that post-collision conduct, and he has the ability, in my opinion, to swerve left, swerve right, do a whole bunch of things that would indicate some sort of intent or maliciousness on his part in trying to hurt someone. He does exactly the opposite. It seems to me, based on that video, what I have seen there is that he avoids people wherever possible and just tries to get out of there. That's what it looks like. Here's another video right after, and by the way, the Jeep is not the only car that does this, and that question came up. There were a ton of cars afterwards that got onto northbound 225 right after the Jeep, and they were confronted by the protesters, and it was in In some of these images, you may have caught people holding either bats or umbrellas. There were a couple images that I didn't put up here, some stills that we took, where there was a woman who was carrying a sidearm. This was a group that came prepared, it seems to me, to do more than to just protest, but they were prepared for something else. And you start to see it showing up here in these post-Jeep cars. This is another video that we had. This is just right after the collision. That's right after, isn't it, Tom? And this is a car that is just driving along, doesn't know what's going on either, seconds later.
It's okay, so slow. Hey, back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up for a minute, please.
I'll pause it for a moment. One of the things that shows up in a lot of these videos is these are folks, too, that are giving directions to people to do, no joke, turn around and head back down the wrong way, down northbound I-225. These cars that you can sort, I'm sorry, I restarted. You can see there's confusion. They don't know if they should go down that way because cars are still coming, or if they should just sit there. And I'm sorry I started over, but you'll see some cars around here in this weird posture trying to turn around.
You don't have to run into people. I have kids. It's okay, so slow. You have kids. You don't have to run into hospital. Hey, back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up for a minute. Back for a minute, please. Hey, let's go. Hey, let's go. Turn around! Turn around! Hey, wait. On that side of the road. That way. That way. That way. Turn around. Go that way. Come on. Go that way.
Vicky, are you trying to get my attention? He's got kids in the car, and I can't remember where he was getting his kids to. Tom, where did he say? He was trying to get his kids to the hospital. That was the guy they threw the bike in front of and confronted. Some of those other cars, you can tell they're hesitant to follow these instructions because of the chaos that's there. They're being told to drive back down the road where they just saw another car come up. Other people are giving different directions. Just pull over, just stop. It's chaotic on this highway. Oh, sorry. This is an Aurora police officer who talked to the Jeep driver. There's also some body cam of the Jeep driver's statements, pretty consistent with this. Said he was on the way to the airport to drop off his friend. We saw the passenger statements already. At some point, he said his vehicle began to be surrounded by protesters on I-225. He said they were throwing rocks at his car, and because of this, he tried driving northbound on I-25 near East Alameda Avenue to get away. At some point, he said he collided with a white truck, said he driving because the protesters were trying to attack his vehicle. When he got off the 6th Avenue exit, he contacted police. He did immediately. We have video of that. I think you'll see that. I confirmed with dispatch that the driver of the truck never called the police after the collision. Officer James Snap interviewed the driver of the motorbike. The motorbike said that she was participating in the protest and assisting protesters trying to block traffic from northbound I-225 from Alameda. She said while blocking the road, she observed the blue Jeep jump over the curb, drive onto the sidewalk and the median, and then onto northbound I-225 on the ramp. She said that the Jeep struck another vehicle and nearly hit numerous people. She chased the Jeep on her motorcycle and said she was very concerned because she had family in the protest. This is the northbound, I think, on-ramp, but this is, Tom, what's this one? Is that the... Before they go onto the interstate, and then she comes around and tries to block. That's right. So this is, I think, the southbound off-ramp from southbound. She's on the southbound off-ramp from 225. She's going to come down, curve left, and try to go over here to set up and block them from getting onto the northbound thing. This is her in that blown-up image that we have. That's another picture of her that we took from video. This is that right off of the 6th Avenue exit. There's our blue Jeep that pulls over immediately to contact the Aurora police. There's our motorbike person right there. There's the motorbike person right there. I wonder if I have video of this. Nope. Here's a statement from Officer Mullins from Aurora. Vehicle pulled up behind us. 2 male occupants exited when they were advised that they were on I-220. Oh, they advised they were on I-225 when people had begun hitting their vehicle with guitars. And I actually think there was a guitar that was actually used to hit the Jeep. The driver then advised that he was hit by a white lifted truck when he was attempting to leave the area. As he was attempting to leave, he stated a motorcyclist began driving erratically after him. Actually, this might be that video clip.
Sorry.
You need to take a second too. What just happened?
There's like 1,000 people in front of me.
Okay. Take a second. I'm not going to have you sitting here yelling at everybody. Take a breath. Sir, you're with him. You're going to step over here with me. My partner's going to stand here.